Hey, this is Michael Smith with the Bluefield Group, and I am here with Miles Merwin of Advisors Insurance. And today, just wanted to talk about some basic questions of what are some things that we need to be thinking about when we're shopping for a home and considering how insurance, homeowners insurance, fits into that equation. So I guess one of the most common questions that we get is, what are the types of questions I should be asking my insurance agent?
Sure. That's a great question, Michael.
Okay, I'm glad I thought of it.
So, one of the things that you want to think about is you shouldn't really have to ask a lot of questions to your insurance agent.
Okay.
I think a good insurance agent is going to be able to ask you a lot of questions.
Okay.
They are the professional, we hope. And so when you're calling them to insure a home, they should have a lot of questions to ask you.
Okay.
If your insurance agent is only asking you your name, your date of birth, and the address for the home, and then they'll get back to you with a quote, then I'm not so sure that that was the correct process.
Okay.
I would question that. You want them to ask you a lot of questions, and I know we wanted to cover this, about what kind of coverages are best for you,
Right.
just some key terms like backup of sewer and drain, personal injury versus personal liability, other structures. They should be asking you a lot of questions specific to you and really specific to the home in your intended use for it. Maybe you're going to have a business there.
Okay.
I don't know. So your insurance agent should be asking you a lot of questions. I would say it could last anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, that conversation.
Okay.
If it's lasting 1 minute,
1 or 2 minutes.
maybe you should say, hey, maybe you should ask some more questions.
Right. Okay, that makes sense, because in order to get not only the correct amount but the correct types of coverage, the agent really needs to understand, like you said, your intended use for the home, but also about the home, about you and your needs, and those types of things.
Yeah.
So when in the process should we actually start that conversation with an agent? Should we wait until we're under contract for a home? Should we start earlier than that? Is it okay to wait until a week before closing? I mean, what's the time frame?
Preferably not right before closing. Although, if that's your situation, we will help you.
Right. Okay.
So I would recommend beginning the process once you have identified an address. So if you know the address of the home, then that's really going to tailor in. And even if the address changes, probably the type of home that you're looking for is not changing that much. So you're probably looking for a certain square footage, a certain demographic or zip code. You're trying to get your kids into certain school zones.
Right.
You're looking for brick ranches, or you're looking for homes on a slab, or you're looking for a basement. So once you've kind of identified the type of home, the area that the home is in, and then an address that you are really deeply considering purchasing, you can start the process. Typically the rate is going to be just about the same as long as the characteristics and location of the home are about the same.
Okay. And I'll say this too. I know certain loan officers will they'll estimate when they're telling you what your monthly payment will be when you first get pre-qualified. They'll plug in an estimate for taxes and insurance.
Right.
Some loan officers are really good about that, and some are just flat out terrible. So I've seen pre-approvals come through where the loan officer put in $300 a year for insurance, but they're looking at 80-year-old homes, and that might not be realistic, right?
Yes.
So I think the sooner you can start that in the process, the more you can kind of drill down into at least a more realistic ballpark figure of what you can expect per year.
Yes.
Especially if you know what type of home you want. I have lots of clients that say, I want a brick ranch, right?
That's right.
So that's what you're looking for, and their homes are about this old and probably this type of plumbing, this type of electrical.
That's right.
So that makes a lot of sense. And especially now, the market being what it is, where prices have gone up, interest rates have gone up, a lot of our clients who have been waiting or on the fence, they're not approved for what they were 6 months ago. So insurance is a big part of that equation, right?
Yes.
So understanding how much your insurance costs are going to be, plays a big role in how much home you can really afford, because it all comes down to what your monthly payment is, right?
Yep.
So I think that's great. Let's talk about carriers.
Sure.
I hear that a lot. So a lot of people will say, I'm just going to call this big box company that I have my homeowner's insurance through. What are the benefits of working with an independent company that has access to multiple different carriers?
Sure. That's a great question. So different insurance carriers have different appetites, just like different people have different appetites.
Okay.
So when you're working with an agent who has multiple options, they can tailor that insurance policy or the appetites of the different insurance carriers to the type of home that you are going to insure. Some carriers do not like homes with fuse boxes still that aren't circuit breakers anymore. Or maybe there's asbestos siding still behind the walls and it's been covered up. Maybe there's carriers that will limit the water damage coverage amounts on older construction unless there's proof of updates. Some carriers, depending on the type of dog that you have, may or may not want to insure you. Every carrier has different appetites for the type of clients they're looking for, not necessarily just the house. So some carriers have better rates for younger people or older folks, or they all have their different appetites. And so an independent agent can look at all these different carriers and find a carrier that wants your business. When you're going to some of the bigger box companies, they may only represent one home insurance carrier. And that home insurance carrier may or may not have a market, the best market for the home that you are purchasing.
Right.
Or you might not be the best market for them at this specific time.
And that's not to say they won't insure you, but they might charge a lot more for it,
yes.
right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, I know we've been in a situation where, we got the home inspection back from a home. Turns out there's a couple things we weren't expecting, whether it's a fuse box or, a certain type of plumbing. And we've had to switch from one carrier to the next.
Yes.
So one of the benefits of working with an agent that has access to multiple different carriers is that's an easy process to switch from carrier A to carrier B. Whereas if you're with one of these other companies that only writes from one carrier, once you discover that and you're already down the rabbit hole, you've got to find a whole other agent, start from square one.
And this is why it does help to start the process as early as possible.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so what about bundling? That's kind of a buzzword. Do you really save money? Is there really a benefit to the consumer to bundle different types of policies together, or is that just a benefit for the insurance company, right?
Sure,
Because they're writing multiple lines of business for you.
To bundle or not to bundle.
Right, that's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah.
So selfishly, as an owner of an insurance agency, we love to bundle because we have deeper relationships with our clients and they have more policies with us. That's great. But how does it benefit the consumer? There's a number of things. One is your premiums will be less.
And why is that?
Any one policy, because when you put home and auto or jewelry or all these lines of business together, they're going to discount them for putting it because you've given them ultimately more premium dollars to work with.
When you say they, are you referring to the insurance agent or to the carrier?
The insurance carrier. That's
the carrier.
Yeah,
okay.
The insurance carrier. So let's say that you had a claim scenario and it was you had 2 small claims and that's all you have is your home insurance policy with them. And your home insurance premium is $1,000.
Okay.
And you filed $5,000 worth of claims in a 3-year period. Well, it's going to take a very long time for them to make up that $5,000.
Okay.
And most likely, since you only have one policy with them, the retention is not going to be there. They're going to assume you are going to leave and change your home insurance somewhere else.
Okay.
And so with all those kinds of things, if a carrier can see that you have your home and auto with them, they're going to recoup those costs of any kind of claims that you file much quicker. And you're not going to start receiving a lot of those notices in your mailbox that you don't like to see.
Yeah, the premium increases.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So bundling is great for the carriers because it spreads their risk per insured across multiple lines and categories. They can recoup costs better, better retention, so they're able to pass some of those savings on to the consumer.
That's right.
Okay.
Another thing I was thinking of as well is I often have a joke that I say with my clients, insurance agents are kind of like husbands and wives. You really need one. If you have to get the opinion of more than one, it just adds time to the process and could cause mistakes and aggravation.
Okay.
So when you have one insurance agent to use across all of your insurance needs, then that insurance agent typically gets to know you and the risks that you face. You get to know them and how they, their opinion about things, and if they're wise to help you in your situations, really advise you. If you make changes on one side of your policy, your agent might be able to make some recommendations for some areas to adjust on the other side of your insurance portfolio. So it really helps just that relationship part of making sure you have the right insurance package.
Yeah, so the agent will get a better idea of your overall financial picture, right? Your home, auto, business, life insurance, etc. and can better advise you when they have more information about you. That makes sense.
Yes.
You know, just like with an investment person, right? You're not going to have necessarily stocks with one person and bonds with another and CDs over here. If you can consolidate, it saves time and headaches, right? But you can also save money.
That's right.
And get better advice. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what makes a good insurance agent, or what makes a good insurance company. What should we be looking for?
Yep. I would say, like we discussed earlier, you want to make sure you're working with an agent that really expresses their interest in you and the risk that you face. Not so much that they're just getting you the best price. We know that you're searching for the best price. That's a given. Everyone wants the best price.
Yeah.
But above and beyond that, when you have to file a claim, then you want to make sure that your agent has done their due diligence to make sure they got you the best coverage as well, that there's somebody there that's going to answer the phone, that you're able to communicate with them effectively, they're able to communicate back with you effectively, and that the agent that you're working with does enough volume and business with the carriers they represent that when you do have a problem, they have some sort of leverage to actually help you.
And get a solution.
Quickly. So it's important for you to interview the person you're doing your insurance business with to make sure that they really are knowledgeable and they know the information on the policies, that they're not just a price shopper for you.
Right, that makes sense. All right, well, Miles, I feel like that was a great conversation. Probably went a little bit over my head, but here's the point. So this is like a really quick 30,000-foot view of what are some things that I should be considering if I'm thinking about buying a home and need to get the process started of looking at different insurance options. It's a very important part of your monthly payment. A lot of people just think I need to check that box and make sure I have insurance to make the mortgage company happy. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you have the right coverage in place.
That's right.
Because a claim could happen and you don't want to get there and realize my agent didn't know what they were talking about, or I didn't get enough coverage. I wish I had a more in-depth conversation with my agent back when I bought the home.
That's right.
So I knew what I was getting myself into. And that's something I know that your team does very well, is taking a little bit of extra time up front to make sure that you ask all the right questions, make sure we have enough coverage, the right types of coverage to avoid those headaches down the road. So Miles, I really appreciate your time. I hope this was really helpful to everybody. If y'all have any more specific questions, go ahead and reach out to us, reach out to Miles. We'd love to help you out. And Miles, thanks for your time, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll see y'all on the next one.